Hello friends and welcome back to my channel Thrifty Day. My name is Leah. I'm the creator behind Thrifty Day. Today's episode is going to be a junk journal tutorial. This is a sewn composition book junk journal. In this video, I will show you how I deconstruct a composition book, add pages, and sew it all back together. Here's the supplies you'll need. I'm going to use wrapping paper as the additional pages, the lined paper already in the composition book, some duct tape, washi tape, trim that's totally optional, fabric tack, a glue stick, and the cover is going to be made from pages of this really cute cat calendar. You will also need a paper cutter and some scissors. I'm also going to use an embroidery needle and some embroidery thread and an awl. I'm going to start by picking the pages I want to use as the cover. They're going to just be glued onto the cover. I picked a couple out of this calendar. I love using calendars, especially when they are nice, high quality, matte illustrations. It's just a great way to upcycle and find some really neat graphics for the front of your journals. I believe I originally found this one at Barnes & Noble, and I love it because it's cats, and I'm actually making this journal as a gift, and the recipient loves cats. So now that we have the cover images picked, we can set those aside because we are going to begin making the journal, and we are going to start by totally deconstructing it. So find the center of your composition book journal, and I'm going to use my little sewing scissors, and I'm going to just snip everywhere that it is sewn in there. Once you do that, you will see how quickly and easily these pages will come right up out of the composition book. I get my composition books at Target. I really like the quality of the ones from Target. So in case you were wondering, that's where I got mine. I just pull those pages out, and the next thing I'm going to do is just pull out all of those little threads that are stuck in the cover. And once that part is done, we will be able to set our cover aside after we measure it, because we will be cutting down some wrapping paper to create the pages. Most composition books are pretty standard in size, but just in case, I do recommend measuring it. Mine measures about 9.5 inches tall by about 7.5 inches wide, I believe. So I am going to make my wrapping paper pages slightly smaller. So if you have a 9.5 inch tall composition book, I would do about 9.25. You don't want those pages poking out in any direction. So making them just slightly smaller is a really easy way to make sure that they'll fit correctly. I love, love, love this wrapping paper. I found it at HomeGoods, and I know that HomeGoods and TJ Maxx have a lot of the same wrapping paper. So if you're looking for like really good quality matte wrapping paper, I recommend looking there. So now that I have it all sort of in the works here, I am just going to trim them down to the right height and to the right width. You can use a pair of scissors to do this, but if you know me, you know I cannot cut a straight line. So I also need to remeasure, because instead of writing it down so I wouldn't forget, I forgot. So I highly recommend also writing it down. Although I am going to pat myself on the back, because quite honestly, I don't even usually measure. I usually just kind of eyeball everything, but this is a gift, so I do want it to look really nice. These are my pages so far. I love, love, love them. I'm going to save them for a personal journal of my own that I'll be working on soon. Some of them anyway. And I'm going to count about 10 sheets of the lined paper, and then I'll add a piece of wrapping paper, and I'll do that throughout the whole journal. I think that that's like kind of the perfect amount of lined paper and sort of pretty bright colored wrapping paper. You could choose your own sort of formula or method, but for me, I think that's a method that really works. It gives just the right amount of color and the right amount of lined paper. Also keep in mind that I do separate these into even numbers, because we will be gluing two pieces of the lined paper together to create a more solid sort of page throughout the journal. You don't have to do that, but if you're going to do that, do be sure that you are separating these into even numbers. I also decided to add a piece of that floral wrapping paper to the front so that it's the first piece of paper you see when you open the journal. And you want to make sure it's all nice and flush on the top and the bottom, and add it right into your cover. And the next step will be sewing our journal. So you will need some of these very strong clips. I use these sort of bulldog clips. Do not be shy. You don't have to use just one or two. I actually use 4 on composition book journals, because if you can see right there, it's not flush at the top, even just with 2 of those clips. So let's kind of take it all out. Let's regroup. Let's re-straighten all those pages. Let's use 4 clips to make sure that those pages are not going to slide around when we are trying to punch holes in the spine and sew in those pages. This is kind of the most important part, especially if you want a very nice sort of flush look at the top and bottom. So like I said, I use 4, don't be shy. I also use packing material when I punch holes, and let me show you what I mean. I actually got these out of my iPhone, my new iPhone, but instead of like kind of haphazardly punching a hole with that awl, I actually put the spine right on that packing material, and then I push the awl through into the packing material. I hope that makes sense while you watch the video. It's a safer way to punch holes, and that's a lot of paper to punch holes through. So you just put the spine right on the packing material and then punch the holes right into it, and it's nice and easy and a lot safer. The next thing we are going to do is measure out some of this embroidery thread. I measure out 3 lengths. You do want a nice big piece, long piece of thread. You don't want to complete the process of sewing in your journal and then realize you don't have enough at the end to tie a knot. So don't be shy. Use that embroidery thread, put it through your needle, and you're going to start in the middle. You're going to go all the way through the pages, out the spine, go to the top hole. Once you're through that top hole and you're back inside your journal, you're going to go back through the middle hole, being careful not to go through the embroidery thread that you've already used. Go down to the bottom hole, and then once you're inside the journal, back to the middle. Now you're going to go back to that top hole, and this time you're going to skip that hole in the middle. You're going to come out the side of the outside of the spine, and then you're going to end in that middle hole. You're done with your needle and you're done with your clips, so you can take those off. Now we're just going to tie it all off. Once you take off those clips and remove the washi tape, you can open up your journal nice and wide, and you can sort of pull and tug at those strings to make sure that your pages are in there nice and tight. I also like turning my journal over and making sure that the threads are laying nicely on the spine and that they're nice and secure. Once you've done that and you're happy with your sewing, you can turn it back over and tie 3 knots right in the center. And you have just sewn a journal. I love this particular method of tying in and sewing your journal. It's very simple. You know, I like to keep things easy peasy, and I think this is a really wonderful, easy way to sew in a journal. I do take one more step, particularly in composition book journals, because there are so many pages. If you plan on adding a lot of things, I do like to add a piece of clear packing tape right to the center, right over the strings, just to make sure as you add pieces of ephemera or pictures or whatever to your journal, those strings won't pull through. So it's just another sort of safety measure to make sure you can bulk up your journal as thick and fun as you want. And if you're looking at your corners thinking, oh no, some of my pages are hanging over, don't worry about it. We're going to be gluing pages and adding washi tape, and very soon you will not be able to notice that. So now that the inside of our journal is complete, let's work on the outside cover. I am going to add these images. I'm going to slice a little off the side because I want to make sure as much of that little kitty cat illustration is right in the center of my journal. Once I do that, I'm going to add some parchment paper, and I want to do that to protect the pages because I want this glue to get all the way to the edge and even, to be honest, come out a little bit because I want that illustration to be glued down so tight that it will not start peeling up at the corners. I use fabric tack, and I even sort of spread it around with my finger just to make sure that glue is nice and uniform. I add my illustration, and then I just make sure that the illustration is exactly where I want it to be, and then I press firmly. You can use a bone folder or a ruler if you wanted to make sure that this illustration was on there nice and tight, but I'm always really happy just to use my hands. I find that that's a very effective way. Once we've completed the front, we're going to repeat that process with the back cover. So I'm going to slice a little bit off of the side so that that little kitty cat is right in the center. And then I'm going to add another piece of parchment paper to protect those pages. And then I'm going to add more fabric tack. So let me know in the comments below if you are going to try to make this style of journal or if you already make this style of journal. I mentioned before that I originally saw a tutorial similar to this done by Rebecca Hoot. I will be sure to link her YouTube down below. I very much love this style of journal. I use one in my daily process. I use it as a planner. I also use it as a list journal, and I put much of my daily personal ephemera throughout. I think it's very reflective of my style. It's a lot of fun, and it also keeps me very organized, which is a win-win. So I would love to hear if you plan on making a journal like this, or if you already have. The next step will be to add a heavy book right to the top and let it completely dry for about 20 to 30 minutes. So now that my book has been on there for about 30 minutes and I'm confident that my cover is dry, I am going to remove the parchment paper, and then I'm going to use my scissors to remove the excess calendar illustration so that my cover looks nice and clean. I was so happy I used that parchment paper because it was actually very sticky under there, which is a good thing. That means the glue went all the way to the edge. While you were watching me trim the excess here, would you be so kind as to hit the like button? That helps out my channel so much, and I truly appreciate it. If you are new, be sure to say hi so that we can connect. And if you are a returning YouTube Thrifty Day watcher, I wanted to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I truly appreciate your likes, your comments, your views, and your presence here on my channel. How cute is she? I am loving this journal, and I hope that the recipient loves it too. She recently told me that she was looking to journal more, and I know she is much more of a writer, so I kept that in mind when I made this journal, and I am just super duper duper excited to get it in the mail and send it to her. You can just round the corners there, because most composition books have rounded corners. You can just round the corners with your scissors, or if you have a fancy corner rounder punch, you could use that too. I'm just using my scissors though. And I usually don't use a distress ink around the edges, but something about these illustrations made me think it would look pretty, and I'm really glad I did. I think it just adds a nice little finished touch. I just, with a very light hand, used my applicator and my Tim Holtz Distress ink to add a little bit of that sort of browning around the edges. I really like the way it looks. The next thing we are going to add is duct tape to the spine. This actually serves two purposes. It will give your spine a nice strong foundation, but it is also decorative. So I have this really pretty blue that sort of matches the dress, and I put it half on one side and half on the other. I always start on the front, and then I just sort of very gently roll it to the back. Now this next part can be tricky. You need to trim the bottom using your scissors. I recommend using an old junky pair of scissors. Don't use your good paper scissors, because there will be residue on your scissors after you do this, because duct tape is super duper duper sticky. So just sort of follow the top and bottom of your journal and trim off all that excess duct tape. Being careful not to cut your journal cover in any way. So just really take your time here and really just follow the journal and use your scissors. And before you know it, all of that excess duct tape will be gone and you will be left with a beautiful journal. This next step is completely optional and serves no purpose other than I like the way it looks, which is a good purpose in my opinion. But I'm going to grab some of this pretty lavender rickrack and I am going to glue it to the front and to the back. It's going to be very simple. I'm just going to use that same fabric tack. I am going to protect my pages once again. I'm going to put a nice generous line of fabric tack right down the front of the cover, right against the edge of that duct tape. So as I said before, you don't have to do this. I just quite like the way it looks. So I add that line and then I very carefully add the rickrack right on top of that thick glue line. Fabric tack dries pretty quickly. So I find if I just sort of gently tap the rickrack down as the fabric tack dries, you get a very clean look. I hope that makes sense. Let me show you again on the back. So the first thing you're going to want to do is protect your pages, and then we are going to add that same line of fabric tack right down the side. And you don't need to rush when you do this, take your time, and then add that rickrack gently to the top and gently sort of pat it into the glue. You don't want to squeeze it so tightly and quickly that all the glue oozes out. So just really take your time. And then I would set the journal aside for it to dry for, at least 10 or 20 minutes. And then you're just going to trim the excess off the top and the bottom. And once you complete this step, truly the hard part is over because we do have some more tedious sort of work to do on the pages on the inside, which again is totally optional, but the harder parts or the sort of perceived harder parts are all done. So what we are going to do is begin to glue our lined paper pages together. And you may be wondering, why? Why would you do that? Well, you can use this journal in any way you want. You can just write in it, you can draw in it, you can add ephemera, you can add calendars. And so in order to do that, some of these pages in these composition books are very, very thin. So to create a more sturdy page, you use some of your glue stick and you glue them together. That way, when they dry, you have some really nice, sturdy, lovely paper pages to create on. Whatever creating means. It could just mean writing, it could mean drawing, it could be painting, but whatever sort of direction your journal takes, you will have very nice quality, sturdy pages to do it on. This process can be tedious, so I'm actually just going to show you the first 10 pages because I don't think you would enjoy watching me do the entire journal because it does take me about 30 minutes to do. So I'm just going to show you these first few. You just get 2 pages and you glue them together. And then once that is done, we're going to move on to adding some washi tape to make them more decorative. I chose all of these colors of washi tape because I thought these sort of muted colors would look really pretty and match the cover because you will see these on your journal when it's complete. You'll see what I mean once the journal is done. But all you do is get a large length of that washi tape, go all the way down the page, cut it off so it'll be half on one side, and then you fold it over and the other half of the washi tape is on the other side of the page. And you're just going to repeat that process for all the pages that you just glued. And you may be wondering why. Why would we do this? Well, again, it just adds a nice foundation for you to create on. It also adds a beautiful decorative look to your journal. And I actually just think it makes it a much nicer journal to create in. But again, this process is tedious. So if this is something you are not interested in doing, you absolutely do not have to do this step. It is mostly decorative in nature. And if you were wondering where I got these pretty washi tape, I purchased them at Daiso. They were $1.75 each. And the quality is incredible, actually. They're very smooth, they are very sticky, and there's actually a lot on these rolls. So if you do have a Daiso by you, I recommend going there and grabbing some of their washi tape because I have to say I'm very impressed with it. I'm not going to lie, doing the washi tape and all of the gluing isn't my favorite part of making these, but when it's done, to me, it looks truly magical. I love it. I love, love, love the way it looks. And more than that, I'm like a very tactile person. I actually love the way it feels. Like sort of when you flip through your journal, they almost feel like very large tabs. So as much as I hate doing it, okay, hate's a strong word. As much as I find it tedious to do it, to me, it's so worth it in the end, especially somebody who, like I said, is very tactile. I love, love, love the way it feels. So now that I have all my washi tape down, and I do use a bone folder to make sure they're on there nice and secure, as you can see, the top and the bottom, like I wasn't super careful, so I do need to trim those off. So all I do is grab my scissors and I go through and I trim them all at the same time. So ultimately what I will do is go through and glue the rest of the pages, and then I will washi tape all the pages. And then at the end, I will go through and just trim them all when it's completely done. So again, it is a little bit tedious, but I do encourage you to do it because I think it's a really fun look. Do it at least once to see if you like it. So now I'm going to go through and complete this same process on all of the pages throughout this journal. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you watch that. What I am going to do is show you the completed journal now. I'm so happy with how it turned out. I love the colors. I love the way the washi tape looks on the ends of the pages. I love the wrapping paper. I love it all. So I hope you loved this video. I hope you were inspired. I hope that you will create a journal like this for yourself. If you're looking for exclusive content, be sure to check out my Patreon. That information is linked in the description box below. I just want to say thank you one more time for being here and watching my videos. I hope everybody has a really great week. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.